It's Christmas Eve, so what better time for us to have Liz Merza, a lovely member on our podcast, to tell us all about her decluttering journey. Now, Liz is a Brit living abroad in Germany and has been for quite some years, so this is an interesting story.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here's your host, Leslie Spellman.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 169. I'm Leslie. Today, we're going to be talking to Liz Merza, one of our lovely Declutter Hub members, and she's going to tell us all about her journey into decluttering. If you're a brand new listener, thank you so much for listening to us. We really appreciate you being here. And if you've not done so yet, please hit that subscribe button so that our notifications will pop into your email every Friday when there's a new podcast. And if you've been here a while, thank you so much for being a loyal listener. We're so happy you're here. So welcome to the podcast, Liz. It's Christmas Eve. Well, we know it's a little secret. It's not actually Christmas Eve because we're pre-recording this because we do have better things to be doing on Christmas Eve than recording podcasts, don't we? Or other things, not better things, other things. But welcome and thank you so much for spending time to talk to us today about your decluttering journey.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very honoured to have been asked.
Oh, no. Well, this is the way it goes really with Declutter Hub members. We watch their journey and sometimes light bulb moments come out and we think, oh, that would be really interesting for our listeners to listen to. So before we get started, Liz, I've already said you live in Germany. So I'm really intrigued to know whether clutter looks the same in Germany as it does in the UK and all around the rest of the world. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up living in Germany.
Well, I studied German at university after school, and I spent a year abroad as part of the course, met my husband in southern Germany, and decided when I finished to come back to Germany to live and work. And so I worked in catering for a while, and now I have a little tea shop, and my husband and I run this tea shop, and we have done for the last 25 years. Yes.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And so is it kind of like a British tea shop then? Is that what people like about it? Or is it more Kaffee und Kuchen, as they say? Is it, what is it? Is it kind of, I know, because I did German as well at university. Liz.
Yes.
Oh, no. So we've got that in common, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Well, I would actually quite like it to be Kaffee and Kuchen, but no, it's a tea shop. I would say it's slightly different to tea shops in Britain in that we sell an awful lot of loose tea. Tea bags are not so popular in Germany, so people really do tend to buy loose tea, lots of herbal teas, things that in Britain you wouldn't really call tea. And we sell other things too. We sell decorative items, we sell alcohol, spirits, oils and vinegars and things like that.
Nice. So that must keep you busy.
It certainly does, yes.
Yeah. So you're there most days then?
Well, my husband and I, we split the work. So I'm in the shop 2 to 3 days and he's in the shop 3 to 4 days. Yeah.
So how long have you lived in Germany now then?
I've lived here since 1987. So what's that? Gosh, I can't work it out.
A long time. A really long time. Yeah, exactly. So you must have been there around the same time because I went to university in 1986 and I did my year abroad in 1989. So I was a little bit behind you perhaps, but yeah. And I did, as all our listeners will know, I did my year abroad in Holland. So I studied German and Dutch at university, which is why it's so interesting to be partners with the lovely Ingrid. Anyway, so you've also had a couple of children as well, haven't you?
That's right. Yes, they are now 24, a daughter, and 22, our son. Yeah.
So whereabouts in Germany are you?
We're in the south, near Stuttgart, near a town called Ludwigsburg.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful part of the country. So you came to us in November 2020, so about a year ago. And so what was it that you were struggling with your clutter at that time?
Well, at the time, I wasn't really thinking about the fact that I really needed help with decluttering. But for a long time, I've had problems finding things. I spend hours looking for things that I just can't find. I don't have a place for things, and everything was just a kind of a mess. And I think I had the classic problem of the cupboards being full of things that I didn't use and the surfaces being covered in the things that I did use. So the place looked a mess. I was embarrassed if people came around. I always had to clear up. I tried not to have people come up into the living room because I didn't like the way it looked. Yeah, that's the way it was for a long time.
And so did you feel overwhelmed at that point?
I did feel overwhelmed with my inability to get things sorted out. I really felt that I should be able to manage this. If you run a business, you have a lot of paperwork and you have to be organized. You can't forget things. And it was starting to really get on top of me. Yes.
I think that's it really, isn't it? It's interesting where the overwhelm comes from. So would you say that it was that kind of living areas, or would you say it was your paperwork, or a bit of both, or a bit of everything?
I think it was both, because I tend to, even though I have an office officially in the house, I tend to do my paperwork at the dining table, and then things would just get put aside and all the surfaces would be covered in things. And I'm very forgetful, so I have to see things that are important so that they get done. So I would just leave them out, and it just makes everything a mess.
It's very interesting, actually, about this need for visual reminders of things that we need to do. And it's something that's very common. And that comes typically from a place where if we haven't been able to find something, we feel that we need it to be visible to remind us to do something. And I think once we establish a place for everything, and then we can put everything back in its place, that need for those visual reminders becomes less necessary. So hopefully that's happened for you over the last year. So you started off with us during the wardrobe challenge, I believe, Liz.
That's right. Yes. And I have my youngest sister to thank for this, Anna, who is a client of Ingrid's in South London. And she posted in our sisters group. I have 3 sisters altogether. She posted in the sisters group, who wants to do the wardrobe challenge with me? And I thought, oh, that sounds really good. It's it's manageable. It's one thing. And I said, yes, I'm down for this. So I joined the wardrobe challenge, and she was on it too. And I suddenly realized that that your concept, that it actually works. It's so well thought through, the way you prepare and you go through the week and you write down notes and how you feel and how you think and how you're going to plan your wardrobe. And by the end, I was just raring to go. I couldn't wait to actually do the wardrobe. And it's still tidy. I reset it every couple of months. I just go through quickly and fold things that aren't properly folded, but I know where everything goes and it goes back in that place. And the wardrobe challenge really worked for me. Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. I think it's quite interesting when we do the wardrobe challenge with people, because undoubtedly before we start that challenge, people think, well, I'm going to have my wardrobe decluttered in 5 days because it's a 5-day challenge. And what we do a little bit meanly is we don't let anybody, or we don't suggest that anybody does any decluttering until the end of the 5 days. And so we do all the teaching for those 5 days, and then the action or the implementation of the wardrobe challenge is done over the weekend. And so people are always a little like, what? Like, I want to do, I'm ready to get going, but like think about things, do things a little bit differently this time, do some of the thinking, and then we promise you it will be different. And I know you told me before we came on the podcast that one of the quotes, one of the days that we had within the wardrobe challenge really resonated with you, didn't it?
Yes, that's right. It was, a goal is a dream with a deadline. And I noted that down, and I had it on the sideboard in the bedroom for a long time. It was a note I'd made, and I'd left a piece of paper there because I hadn't tidied it away, which I probably should have done. But I kept looking at it when I walked past, and I kept thinking, yes, that's it. This connection with the dream. If you have a goal, it's a dream with a deadline, and it makes it something that you really want to have. And so, go for it.
Yeah, definitely. And goals are so important. And again, it's a concept that we introduce in the wardrobe challenge or in the Reset Your Home challenge as well. And often something that people don't think about when it comes to decluttering. I'm really glad that resonated with you. So you did your wardrobe first, and then you said that was successful and it's still working for you. You're still doing those resets all the time, which is fab news. So then you went on to other areas in your home, presumably.
That's right. Yes, I decided that it had worked so well that I really needed to apply it to the other areas. So I decided to sign up for a year, and I thought, okay, I'll take this slowly and just go through the house. And I've had several areas that I need to work on. One of the first ones was the sideboard in the sitting room, where I have all my papers and things lying about on top of it. That was one that I wanted to do, and I wanted to do the office. Yeah, that was a big one. So I thought, the membership, I need this membership, I need this support to tackle these areas.
I think one of the really interesting things about your journey, and when I asked you to come on the podcast, it was kind of like, you were like, oh, but I'm not a kind of an exemplary student. Like, how's that going to work? And I just said, But that's very typical of lots of people's journeys, which is, we don't have any expectation that people are going to join us for a year and are going to declutter religiously week in, week out, or day in, day out. That's not the way it works, because life gets in the way. But the important thing is that it's kind of firmly in your psyche almost. And so even if you're not doing anything, even if life gets in the way and other things take priority, as they should, we should be allowed to enjoy ourselves. Things happen, other things take precedence, but you can always come back to your decluttering. It doesn't slip off completely. And that's the important thing. So even though I'm sure you're not exactly where you want to be, and whoever is, to be fair, but you've constantly been coming back. You went for a little while in the membership for a few weeks, and we noticed these things, but we're not kind of like, where's Liz? She needs to be decluttering. We noticed that you've been a little bit quieter than normal, and we completely understand that. And then you came back, and you've come back with a vengeance, and you're ready to get started again, aren't you? So I think that's really important reason why I wanted you on the podcast, because it has been up and down, but you have made fantastic progress. And
in the office, yes.
Yeah, definitely. The office, and you shared your office with me, so I've seen in depth what your office looks like. We did a deep dive on that office, gave you some hints and tips on how to get going. So how's the office decluttering going?
It's going okay. I haven't done an awful lot more since I had that real blitz on it. I'm working on small points, like small containers. There are 2 metal containers. I need to work out where they go. For a long time, I wasn't sure whether to keep a huge table as a desk or a small desk that I'd made myself for my daughter, which she actually never used. I've decided now to keep the large desk, because quite often I need to get big folders out of the cupboard and open them and look for something inside. And it's really useful to have a table with space on it where I can just put the folder down and open it up. Yeah.
And these things evolve, I think. These things definitely evolve. But the most important thing, of course, as you said before, a lot of your paperwork from your business is done from home as well. So it's not just domestic paperwork. We're talking about business paperwork here, so that needs to run like clockwork. But nevertheless, you still have to go through that process of working out exactly what you want. And that takes time, particularly if you've been running that business for several years, which you have. There's a lot that comes along with that. Things can change in the business world in terms of going paperless in the same way that they can in the domestic world as well. But you're getting there slowly but surely, but making big progress. I've seen that you've made big progress. And things like the desk, that's fine tuning, that comes towards the end. And quite often that's something that we think about at the beginning. It's something that we can't get past stuff like that, because we're like, oh, what desk shall I have? And we really need to focus on the big picture rather than the minute details. So office is going well. How's your living room? Because you said that was something that you struggled with as well.
Yes, that's right. It was a really big help in the living room to have ordered new furniture. But we had the old furniture in there for 25 years and it just looked awful. It was embarrassing. So it had to go. And that, of course, gives you a real push if you're decluttering, because suddenly you've got to take everything out of the furniture. You've got to get rid of it. And then you've got to think, what am I putting back into the new units now? And so, of course, it looks good because it's new, and we've put stuff back in, and quite a few things we haven't put back in. We've decided that they're going to go somewhere else because they didn't really belong here in the first place, and that's been a great help. And I've been doing a bit of looking for things like nice. Well, not exactly ornaments, that sounds awful, but things to put on a shelf. We've got a shelf above the television set, and I found a little gold bird or two trays that are kind of slightly golden and green that match the color of the wall, and I've put them up there. I want it to look nice now. I don't think it ever looked nice, the sitting room, and I want it to look nice now.
Yeah, I think when you do get new furniture, Liz, when you have an opportunity for a refresh, then you look at your clutter differently because you have such beautiful things. And you're like, but I don't want it to be tarnished by all that clutter. And so that definitely is, it forces that deadline almost as well, doesn't it? So we were talking about deadlines before. No, it really does allow you to have a fresh pair of eyes because you're looking at things in different pieces of furniture, or you move things out of where you typically see them. And it does allow you that very, very different perspective.
Yes, that reminds me of me asking a friend as well. I have two friends and I think their houses are really nice inside. And when one of them was around here, I said, what do you think I should do in the sitting room? And she said, you've got two lovely pieces of antique furniture in the guest room downstairs. And the guest room was full of clutter that was supposed to be on its way out. And she said, why don't you bring them up into the sitting area? And it was something that had never occurred to me, never, ever. And we did that now, and it looks great. It looks really great.
We stop seeing things. That's the problem. We stop seeing things. And, if somebody else can come in with that fresh pair of eyes, it really does allow you to see things differently. And you're like, why did I not think of that?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It's the same really for a lot of people. So we encourage people when we're working with them as well to take photographs, because sometimes if you look at things through a lens, it looks different to the way that you look at it when you look at it personally then, I guess. And so sometimes taking pictures really, really helps, not just on that before and after transformational journey, but in order to see things in a slightly different way from a different perspective. So that's a really useful tip as well. Now, you talked about it being the right time for you, Liz. What do you mean by that? So, about it has to be the right time in terms of decluttering.
Yes, I think that in life we've now reached a stage with the children more or less grown up. Our son's still at home because he's studying not too far away, and because of COVID there was no point in him moving out because everything's online. He's still at home, but our daughter moved out several years ago, and I think it's a time where you kind of reassess, what have you got, what do you still need? Do we need all these children's things? I still had car seats and high chairs and things like that, and I suddenly was able to let go of them and say, okay, this is over. This is good. This is a new phase and I can get rid of these things. And my daughter was really good. She said, look, Mum, you can use my room. It's fine. I said, no, I'd like it to still be your room. She said, look, you can put stuff in it. You can use it for something. It's absolutely okay. And that was a great help decluttering the office, because I could just put all the stuff into the office and then kind of reassess it. So I had space to do it. And that was really good. Yes, it's just the right time somehow, the way we are or where we are now in our lives.
Yeah, so you're not quite an empty nester, but you're kind of heading towards that way and going into a different phase of your life with your children. Of course, if your daughter gave you permission to use the room, that's useful, because we feel as if we're treading on their toes, don't we? We don't really want to, we're reluctant to let go of their bedroom because we don't want to let go of that. Of course we don't. And some people keep those bedrooms of their children for years and years. We kind of forced that change a little bit in our house because in lockdown, my husband was working from home, I was working from home, my son and my daughter, and my other son had moved out. And we kind of, my husband was downstairs in the basement in a tiny room with no windows. I'm like, we've got this huge room upstairs, Luke's old bedroom. We need to use it. You can't sit for a year in a kind of 6 foot by 4 foot room with no windows. It doesn't make any sense when we've got this beautiful room. So we did force that change. And my son was like, yeah, it's no problem, until he came back. He's like, oh, you made me out of my bedroom. Like really upset. I was like, you said it was fine. But again, it's hard. It's a hard wrench to say goodbye to a child's room. Of course it is, regardless of what age they are. I absolutely love that idea of it being the right time. Are you worn down with clutter controlling your life? Have you tried to declutter hundreds of times but get stuck? Do you struggle to even know where to start because every single room has clutter? Come and join our free 5-day challenge starting on Monday, the 3rd of January, and learn how to reset your home with us. Go to declutterhub.com/RYH to find out more and sign up. So welcome back, Liz. Tell us a little bit about your craft, because I know that you are a crafter, aren't you?
I am a crafter. Yes, I'm a very naughty crafter. I do mosaic. I love to do mosaic work. So this means that I collect broken china, broken mirror pieces. I collect shells and driftwood and things like that too. And yes, this is a problem in the basement right now. I need to address this problem. But I love it. I mess around with concrete as well. So sometimes I make things out of concrete and then cover them with mosaic. It's a great hobby that unfortunately I don't have much time for, but I love it.
So it's all in the basement. And how do you organize that in the basement? Do you feel like and you're kind of saying, oh, I'm a bit naughty, it's terrible, it's terrible. Is it quite orderly, or does it get you down?
It gets me down a bit. It's kind of half orderly. I did a bit last week on my Declutter 40 date. I tried to get things slightly orderly in a shelf that I've got there, but I have banana boxes full of things that I think might come in useful for maybe making something out of concrete in, and they take up a lot of space. I really need to sort those out. Yeah.
So you've mentioned Declutter 40, and so this is something that we were very excited to see in the membership forum a couple of weeks ago. So explain all, Liz, what is Declutter 40?
Well, Declutter 40 is my way of trying to get back into decluttering. I had a kind of break over the summer. I didn't really do much. And then I was back in Britain to see my family for a couple of weeks. And when I got back, I thought, this is not on. I really need to make time for decluttering. I make time for other things that I really want to do, like running and mosaic. I have to make time for decluttering. So I decided to put it on the calendar. So every week on a Friday, on the calendar, it says Declutter 40, and I try and do 40 minutes of declutter. It can be anywhere in the house. I'm trying to still address areas that I'm actually working on, not just start something new, so as not to lose the thread. And then I have 40 minutes of decluttering. I set the timer, then I stop and I take photos and have a cup of tea and sit back and enjoy the fact that I actually managed to devote an hour of my day to decluttering.
Fantastic. And I think it's a nice time scale. So that 40 minutes with then a 20-minute break is a fantastic.
Yeah, it's doable.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know when you wrote about this, so you came back kind of like with your tail between your legs into the forum after a couple of months away, which was quite funny, and wrote a post about how you were challenging those excuses, exactly as you've said. You find time for other things in your life, but you hadn't found the time for decluttering, and so this was your plan, and that's the way you're going to do it. You've done it a couple of weeks now, and it's been going really well, hasn't it? So what sort of other things have you done in your Declutter 40?
Yes, the first time it was my workbench. It's the first thing I see when I go in the basement room. And this is where I do concreting and mosaic, and it was absolutely covered in all sorts of stuff that I hadn't cleared away properly and that didn't have anywhere to go. So yes, I did that, and it worked fine, and that really motivated me to carry on with Declutter 40.
And so what other things do you feel that you could get done in that 40-minute slot?
Well, I think the basement is a great place because you've got shelving there, you've got boxes. You could take out a box, you could just say, okay, I'll do this area, this one shelf, take everything out, sort it out, throw stuff away and put it back in an orderly way. And that is definitely doable in 40 minutes.
Perfect. I know, and it's really taken off. Everyone was very excited about that in the forum. I was like, I'm going to do that. Yeah. It's just breaking it down into manageable chunks, isn't it? Whatever looks manageable to you. And that is going to be very different. Some people might be able to go for 4 hours at a time. Some people might be able to go for 10 minutes. And so it's breaking down into a time frame that works for you. And for you, that's 40 minutes, and that's working well so far. So that's fantastic to see.
That's exactly it. And I really wanted to challenge this excuse that I keep saying to myself, I haven't got time to declutter. I just haven't got time this week. And it just, you just can't go on like that. You've got to make time for it.
Yeah, you do. And I think that the other thing that was useful to you, I think, was going back into the forum. So do you feel that the community in the Declutter Hub helped you?
Definitely. I'd really missed, I hadn't been in because I hadn't been doing anything. So I hadn't been posting, but then I realized I hadn't been reading what everybody else had been doing. And that I really missed. And I felt really sorry that I hadn't been, I wasn't up on what others were doing and what was happening with them. So, you need to make time for that too. It's not just what you're doing, it's learning from others and supporting others in the same way that they support me when I post something. It's a brilliant community. It really is.
Yeah, I think the forum is interesting actually, because a lot of people say, well, I'm not really kind of a forum posting type person, but you can still get a lot out of it by, as you say, reading what other people are doing or commenting with a brief comment on what other people are doing. And it is a nice, safe, supportive community. And we do go quite deep in things in there as well, don't we?
Yes.
So yeah, no, the forum is fantastic, and it's a good kickstart as well to go back into the forum and start to embrace it again, to carry on your decluttering journey. So within the Declutter Hub, what else have you enjoyed, Liz?
Well, the forum is my favorite place to be because you see so much of what else is going on. I also like the quick wins. I sometimes do some of those, and I like the Q&A. I don't have much time to listen to it, but I like the fact that you're so approachable. Anytime I could just ask a question and I know that you would address it. I think that's really good.
Oh, fantastic. And what is next on your decluttering journey, dare I ask?
Well, I still have several projects that I need to finish and two that I need to start. The guest room, I really need to do that, and the basement. I would also like to get more into your videos of things like maintenance. This whole declutter thing, it kind of makes you want to look after what you've got. And I realize when I see things like Ingrid's fridge maintenance thing, I think, yeah, I should really do that. Vacuum cleaners, things like that. Looking after things, cherishing them, and making them last. It's all part of this declutter thing, making your home, nice and welcoming again.
Yeah, so just in case anybody's not a member and wants to understand a little bit more about that, so Ingrid loves a maintenance video. She loves looking after things, and so videos and maintenance are her two favorite things. And so what we started doing when we started the membership was doing maintenance videos on things like shoes, fridges, kettles, dishwashers, microwaves, all those kind of kitchen appliances and other things around the house. And so what we did, because they were so popular, that we brought them all together into one course. And so they are quick wins independently, and then they're also in a course. And so all of those maintenance videos are together, and people absolutely love them, because it's the next natural step on from decluttering, isn't it? To start to identify what you've got, and then to start looking at what you've got and thinking, well, I want to look after that because I don't want to then buy again, because your mindset absolutely changes while you're decluttering, and you're less willing probably to go out and shop more. So, it really does change your mindset, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I found these quotes so useful. A goal is a dream with a deadline. And there was one from the Memento Masterclass. I haven't actually tackled my mementos yet, but I did the masterclass. And that was, whose memory is it anyway? Things that you just need to have in your head. And every so often they'll come up to mind again, and you'll think, yeah, that's right. Who am I leaving these memories for? Or if someone gave me something and it was their memory, what does it mean to me? I should be able to let go of these things.
It's so interesting, really, that you say that, Liz. And those are obviously the kind of things that we do in the masterclass and do in the challenges and things to try and make these light bulb moments happen for people. Yeah. And they absolutely do. And that's a big one actually from the Mementos masterclass, which is we preserve all these memories, but we keep things from the past and for the future. So we keep things, from our parents, and we keep things for our children, and we don't look after ourselves. And so we really have to think, whose memory is it? There's no point in us keeping things from our mum or dad who's passed away if we have no idea about what that memory is, and it doesn't give us that warm fuzzy feeling inside. So I'm so glad that our light bulb moments and quotes resonated with you, Liz, and that you
it definitely did,
and that encouraged you to join the membership with your sister as well. She's also a member, isn't she?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's lovely. It's a family affair, isn't it? And how does it? Do you talk about it with your family? Do you talk about your decluttering journey?
Yes, we do. We talk about it. All four of us sisters, we all talk about it. And it was actually very interesting. A few weeks ago, I was in England. My parents moved house. It was quite a big move, and they're mid-80s, so they needed a bit of help. And we were all there, and it was very useful, the things that I'd learned on the Declutter Hub, because I stayed with my parents for about 5 days, and I was helping my mother go through kitchen items. And she had an awful lot of kitchen utensils, and we had them all in this huge drawer. It was just all stuffed in, and she only had space underneath the hob for a very few. So we had to decide each utensil. She had to say whether she used it a lot or not very often or never. She didn't even know what it was with some of the items. And I had my boxes ready, labeled, and these utensils went into the right box, and we were done in about 15 minutes. It was absolutely amazing. It was good that she knew exactly what she wanted to keep and what she didn't. That was good. But it was really, really easy. And I thought afterwards, yes, I would have done that quite differently before Declutter Hub. It makes it so easy.
Oh, fantastic. And so your parents nice and settled now in their new home?
Yes, they are nice and settled. Thank you. Yes, they love it.
Oh, fantastic. So tell me, so it's Christmas Eve. Well, we know that it's not Christmas Eve, but it's going to be Christmas Day when people are listening to this podcast. So how does Christmas look different in Germany?
Christmas in Germany is very kind of spicy, lovely smells, Glühwein, well, mulled wine, you call it in English, Lots of biscuits, homemade biscuits. That's a really big thing in Germany. Yeah, something I never manage because we're very busy in the shop in the run up to Christmas. But it's a lovely time. Yes, I think that's why German markets are so popular in Britain, because in Germany, Christmas has this wonderful, kind of homely feeling.
I know. It sounds fabulous. Yeah, I wish I could get over to a nice. I'd like to go to an actual German market and not just the German markets in the UK. That would be nice. Put that on my bucket list. So,
yes.
Well, enjoy your Christmas. Are you spending it with your family, or are you back in the UK? Or
no, we'll be back in the UK. I'm staying in Germany. Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Spending with the family.
Well, have a fantastic Christmas, Liz. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It's been really insightful. Lovely to see the ups and downs of decluttering, what you've learned, what's resonated, what's changed. Fantastic for sharing that with us. And good luck on your onwards journey.
Well, thank you very much. Wish you all a very happy Christmas too. And yes, my journey continues.
So before we go, let's talk about next week's podcast. Next week, it is going to be New Year's Eve when the podcast comes out, and we are going to do our annual wrap up of what we did in 2021, which we look forward to doing. So happy Christmas to you all, and we'll see you all next week.
And a big happy Christmas from me too.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.